What is good, everyone? For today's lesson, I'm going to be going over daily profiles. Okay, so there's going to be part two to the daily bias lesson that I did, and the conditions and drawn liquidity video. This is going to be the part two to that. It is very important that you understand your daily profiles. First off, I want to say please do not pattern trade this. Have this be just for your confirmation. You should always be knowing where the daily candle is actually expanding towards, based on those conditions and based on if we're delivering from buy side or sell side, right? That's what we talked about in our that liquidity lesson. Jesus Christ, that drawn liquidity lesson. And this is simply just going to be the confirmation that that was a correct bias, is by looking at your daily profile. And what a daily profile is, you're just looking at your previous session, so London and Asia session, and seeing if we have either had the manipulation and we are going to expand in New York, or if we haven't had the manipulation and then we will have a reversal in New York. Or there's a lot of days where we can just have seek and destroy conditions as well, AMD conditions. So I'll go over all of that, and in some examples we'll first show you what it looks like kind of just with a little bit of drawings, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like on the actual charts. So first things first, I want you guys to have this indicator out. It is ICT kill zones and pivots by TFO. This is going to tell you your session times when true day open is. So just make sure you have this indicator if you don't have it already. This is my settings for this indicator, so please screenshot this if you need to. All right, let's get into it. So daily profiles, all of this, guys, is going to be in Eastern Standard Time, okay? So London session starts at 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., right? New York AM session, and this is going to be your kill zones, right, is going to be from 8:30 a.m. to 11 a.m., okay? This is what you should be paying attention to. 8:30 is when news is dropping, right? There's a lot of times news is going to be dropping at this time. CPI, PPI, NFP, unemployment claims. Such a all right, I'm brain rotted from fucking TikTok. Unemployment claims. Anyways, Asia session. All right, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. Also, something that you should be considering is true day open with this. Okay, so true day open is just gonna tell you this is the daily candle where it's opening at, and it's very important that you understand true day open, because we've already talked about time with the PDI lesson. Patrick talked about time with the PDI lesson, and open high low close and open low high close, right? And the daily candle, and since price is fractal, is going to do the same thing. So if we're going to be bearish, right, it's the same thing with our 10 a.m. candle, right? If we want to be bearish, we want to have an open high hitting a key level and then a low close, right? And you want your 10 a.m. to open here, high, low close. And then if we're going to be bullish, you want price to have some consolidation maybe before 10 a.m. open, and then we have a low hitting a key level and then high close. And you're going to see that the daily candle is always going to look something along these lines when we're dealing with our daily profiles, okay? And we should be looking at true day open. So very, very important. And let's get into this. All right, so let's first start with London reversal, New York continuation. The classic buy day. Okay, so this is your classic buy day. It is a London reversal, a New York continuation. So what this means is we will have price opening trading below our true day open, and once we trade below true day open, we will hit a higher time frame key level. Okay, so the higher time frame key level, this can be anywhere from the 30-minute time frame and above is what I'm looking at. All right, so 30-minute time frame, and what is a key level? Okay, so this can be either previous day low, right, previous day high, and for all these examples, I'm going to show bullish examples, and for a bearish example, this is obviously just flipped around. Okay, and so again, higher time frame key level, anything on the 30-minute time frame or above, and this can be liquidity pools, right? So previous day high, previous day low, 4-hour intermediate lows, 4-hour intermediate highs. This can also be, that 4-hour bullish for value gap, 1-hour bullish for value gap, bearish, 30-minute order block. Okay, so all those things are going to be your higher time frame key levels, and it's really important that you see where that low of London session is. Or this can also, okay, so I did put, before I get too ahead of myself, I did put 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., but there are going to be times where we will have that manipulation occur during Asia session, which is from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. So you do want to be paying attention to 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. or 12 a.m., sorry, to 12 a.m. because there are times where we will have that manipulation during Asia, and then we will have a continuation during London, and then New York will also do the continuation. But it's just more common for London session to have that reversal and the continuation be in New York. It's just more common, so that's why I put it there, okay? That being said, once we have an expansion out of that higher time frame key level, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock usually has some sort of retracement, and then 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. we'll have the final delivery towards that draw on liquidity, okay? So again, this is your classic buy day, and on these days, we will not have big, the retracements will be very, very shallow, okay? And the reasoning for that is because we've already created our manipulation during London session, right? So the retracements we'll have is most likely just going to be to like fair value gaps, and we're not going to have like very strong sweeps, significant sweeps of like liquidity, right? Because we already did that during London session. So this is what you always should be paying attention to, is if the low or high is sponsored or not. And that's something that I say a lot of the times in my daily bias lesson. And the way you can tell if the low is sponsored is first off by looking at if we hit a higher time frame key level. So this is going to make a little bit more sense when I hop into the next daily profile. But for now, just be paying attention to us hitting our higher time frame key level. Maybe we swept previous day low, let's say, right? And this low is now sponsored. So from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, this low is now sponsored. There's no reason price should trade back to this, right? And we already had our expansion. We already had maybe a change in state delivery out of here. We started to see that flip in order flow, right? And now 7 o'clock to 10 a.m., we will have that continuation, and then 12 o'clock to 4 p.m. until close, right? So if London low is sponsored, then it's not going to get traded back to, and we will have a continuation day, okay? So this is the first daily profile here. Again, shallow retracements you're going to see usually. You're not going to see any usually big moves lower, since we are going to be really bullish on this day, or bearish, because this is a classic buy day or a classic sell day. Okay, so London reversal, New York continuation. I'm going to hop into the next one. I actually want to go over this one next. We have 3 daily profiles I want to show you guys. And this is going to be a London Judas New York reversal, okay? So I do see a lot of people getting tripped up with this specific profile, because first people will look at this and then they will think it is a classic sell day. So a London reversal, New York continuation, because they see that, okay, London session high was here, and then we got expansion lower. So they're looking at this and they're saying, well, we went higher, so we went lower. So this is looking like an open, high, low close on the daily candle, and then I'm going to try to go short here and try to catch a continuation towards a lower draw. Now, the problem with this is that the 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock candle never hit a higher time frame key level. And what happens is this is actually just going to be a fake out, right? So a Judas swing is what it's called. Now, a Judas swing, again, guys, if you guys know what a Judas swing is, it's basically when we have a false move in the market. So let's say we're going to be bullish. It's just simply manipulation. But I like to use the word Judas here because it really helps me visualize the false move, especially because Judas swings are really, really common during 9:30, 8:30, those times. So the 9:30 Judas swing is talked about a lot, where we have accumulation, and we have that manipulation lower, then the expansion higher, and this will open at 9:30, open low, high close, right? So that sort of thing. And we never hit a higher time from key level here, okay? So 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, never hit a higher time from key level. We then traded lower, and I don't know why it's not showing. Oh, there we go. No higher time from key level, and then we did hit a higher time from key level from 7 o'clock to 10 a.m., and then we will get our reversal from there during New York AM session, okay? So, again, can be anywhere from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. You can have 8:30 trade into this. You can have a 9:30 open low. You can have 10 a.m. trade into this and then have a 10 a.m. reversal. And then once we hit that London session high, or Asia, whatever it is, high, we will usually have a lot of consolidation during PM session. If this is a large expansion type of day, you will definitely see a lot of accumulation and then a continuation model, usually around that 3 p.m. macro or 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. So usually later in the day, but it's a lot of consolidation during PM. I don't really love trading these types of days in PM session after we take out London highs or lows. But this is just, again, something to be paying attention to is if we have a fake high day or a a fake low day, right, or a true high day or a true lower day. And here again, we have no higher time frame key level, so this high is not sponsored, okay? And what that could kind of look like is, let's say we have, again, previous day high here. Let's say London session trades out and we don't take out that high, right? So you always want to be thinking about, does this move make sense? Like, does this bearish move that we have really make sense? And it doesn't, right? Because we didn't sweep any sort of liquidity. We didn't tap into any higher time frame for rally gap. Maybe we even inverted this on the left of us, right? So we're not bouncing off of anything. So this high doesn't make sense. This bearish move here, there's no narrative behind it, right? So that's the way you should always be looking at the market, is looking at it if there's a story behind it, if you can frame that narrative, right? From this, I can't frame a narrative. If we swept out this high, then I can frame this narrative, and then this can be a classic sell day, right? But since that didn't happen, for example, let's say we just did this, then this is most likely going to be a reversal profile. And let's say we hit a 4-hour bullish rally gap to the left of us here, then we can have a reversal towards that London session highs. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, okay? 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, we have price trading at open here, open, and then we trade lower. So we have, it looks like an open high, low close, but it's actually an open low. And this is something also, guys, like especially, again, price is fractal. So be using this on, the 10 a.m. candle, the power of 3. This is just basic power of 3, but use this on the 10 a.m. candle in AM session, right? You want to be paying attention to, just because we have price open here, right? And let's say we have a move like this, and we have a little bit of 1-minute candles that trade higher. That doesn't mean that this is an open high, right? Not until, let's say we have a key level right here, not until we hit this key level, it becomes an open high, because then we can trade lower, hit a key level here, and then this is an open low, right? And then you want to see this continue expanding until this 4-hour candle gets closed, right? So use this power of 3, and you can learn a lot from daily profiles in your trading, and you can apply it to your intraday trading as well as your overall daily buys. Okay, now coming into our final daily profile I want to show you guys, and there are going to be a little bit of nuances with these daily profiles. It won't always look picture perfect, right? There are times where I do see London Judas New York reversal, but it will kind of look something like this, where we will have price do this, and we won't hit the higher time frame key level, right? So there won't be any higher time frame key level. And instead, if we were going to be like still bearish on this day, let's say this isn't a bullish, let's say we haven't hit a higher time frame key level lower from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. and we start trading higher, we will sweep out this London session high, and then we will have a distribution lower, okay? And this will then be a bearish profile. So just know that price is always going to be seeking that London high, right? Now we don't have to continue to expand after this high, but just know that this is not only going to be like a great reversal point, but also a great target, or I guess vice versa, because I taught it as a target first. But yeah, this is also going to be a great reversal point as well, okay? And I'll show you guys, the different nuances in the actual charts in a second here. But let's get into the final daily profile, which is going to be your Asia accumulation, New York manipulation plus expansion, also known as AMD or power of 3, okay? So this is going to be from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, or all of Asia session and London session. You will see price accumulate, okay? And then from 8:30, this happens a lot of the times on high impact news days. The overnight session will be very choppy, so you should wait for that high impact news to drop. Once that high impact news drops, right, we'll have a true low of day get formed. Now this is very important, because I want you guys to know that data lows and data highs don't always have to get traded back to, okay? And again, you can use the sponsored, right, the term sponsored that I talk about in data highs and data lows. So that's why I'm saying it's really important to learn daily profiles, because it can help you with a lot of other aspects in your trading. And this low of day is going to be sponsored, right? Let's say 8:30 trades here, we hit some sort of key level. Again, I know I keep using previous day low. Let's say we just hit a 1 hour bullish for rally gap, right? Or we hit a 1 hour intermediate low instead of a gap. Okay. Let's say we do that and we sweep that out, and that's the 830 candle. And let's say we do have some sort of data wick here. This is going to be a protected low, even though you will see a data wick get formed here. All right, you're probably going to see a wick like this. This is going to be true manipulation. Now, false manipulation looks something like this, where maybe we don't hit this 1 hour intermediate low and we make like relative equal lows. Then this is going to be a false manipulation, and then this is going to be, you know, a reversal actually here, and this will be a bearish power of 3, right? So it's just always about looking at what the higher time from key level is and what is truly sponsored versus not. And that's going to really tell you, and that's what's going to make or break your daily profile and overall trade for the day, okay? So we did end up trading towards this 1 hour intermediate low, hitting the higher time from key level. Again, accumulation, manipulation then happens at that 8:30. 10 a.m. then has your expansion, you know, or 8:30 10, you can get the expansion at any time from here after hitting that low of day, that key level. And then from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., after we take out the session highs, we then can trade back towards that drawn liquidity and then have a close right here. Right? Beautiful. Okay. There's also going to be, you know, your seek and destroy conditions, which are just really going to be like days where you shouldn't even be trading in the first place, because that's just going to be for when we have, let's say, price has just accumulated, right, during 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., and then we have manipulation on both sides. And then on these days, it's just really tough because we would just be seeking out highs and lows and highs and lows, and it's just going to be a lot of back and forth price action. And on those types of days, no real daily profile is valid. And we've been getting a lot of that in, you know, the recent price action we've been getting. There hasn't been a lot of valid daily profiles, and that happens when, you know, we're at all-time highs and overall seasonal tendencies at summer months. The seasonal tendencies tend to have worse quality price action, especially overnight and especially in AM session. So that being said, I'm going to hop into some examples to show you guys what some clean daily profiles look like. And then overall, you know, again, you don't want to be completely pattern trading this, and it's always not going to look this perfect. And I'll show you guys, you know, just different ways to be trading these daily profiles in ways that I trade it. So let's get into some examples. All right, so I'm going to get into an example here of a London reversal, New York continuation. So I'm looking at 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock here. Okay. So I'm back. All right, so 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., we tapped into this discounted 4-hour bullish fair value gap right here. And then price ended up having a move higher, right? So this is your higher time frame key level, a bullish 4-hour fair value gap. We hit this during 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. So what can you expect for New York AM session to do? Well, to have a continuation. And out of this POI, what did we get? We got a 15-minute change in state of delivery at 8:45. This candle right here, we closed above this right here. So then 9:30 has a pretty shallow, actually didn't have a retracement here. We just ended up having that distribution because I think we had 8:30 news this day, but 8:30 we ended up trading lower, hitting this low right here. And then from here, we made another low swept here as a final manipulation move, and then we traded higher, and we had that expansion at 9:30. Then we had a drawn liquidity being right here, and we had a full-on Drake candle up to that draw, and this is your London reversal, right? London reversal, and then New York continuation. You can take profits at that internal, you know, London buy side, take profit at the Asia highs, and then final take profit being that beautiful stacked resting relative equal highs right here as your draw on liquidity for the day. So this is the first London reversal, New York continuation. I think I'm going to show you guys next is going to be for an AMD profile, which was on the next day. Okay, so for this next daily profile I want to go over is going to be your Asia/London accumulation and then your New York manipulation and expansion, also known as AMD power of 3. Okay, so in this example, right, we have a very clear, you know, just overall accumulation after Asia has opened, London has opened. We are not going anywhere. We are not taking out any highs. We're not taking out any lows, and price is simply just accumulated. Now what price ends up doing is it ends up trading lower, having previous day low being right here. We end up going towards this low and hitting it, right? Now, if this was going to be a very, if this was going to be a bearish scenario here, we should have hit a key level on the 30-minute time frame or above, right? And I'll show you guys what the 15-minute chart looks like, right? We end up hitting this 15-minute bearish for value gap, but is this a higher time frame key level? Is this going to support what the daily candle is telling us? No, this is looking like accumulation, and this isn't a strong enough manipulation. When you guys are looking at this specific type of daily profile, you want there to be a very strong manipulation, either a big candle lower or a big candle higher, right? And it needs to be on the 30-minute time frame or above. So if we were going to be bearish here, we should have hit this, right? And this can, also apply to a London Judas swing, right? So this is looking to be a Judas swing, being that London highs didn't trade into anything significant that sponsored this move, all right? Or this move was just a false move, right? So this is a false move lower, meaning it's a manipulation. We end up hitting previous day low here, and then we get New York open. This is your 8:30, right? 8:30 is here. Then we end up getting our expansion, and then 10 a.m. trades, or 9:30 ends up trading lower. So we have a 9:30 open low here. Open low into a discounted 15-minute bullish PD array right here, and then beautiful, beautiful longs up into this unfilled 15-minute gap as the draw on liquidity for the day. So very, very textbook day, very, very textbook AMD model. And yeah, this is one of my favorite daily profiles to trade, and we'll check out a couple more examples. I think I do need to show you guys still the New York Judas swing, London Judas New York reversal. So let's hop into that. All right, so this next daily profile I want to show you guys is that London Judas New York reversal, okay? So what this is going to look like is we will have London session have a false move higher, okay? So I'm going to be looking at the 2 a.m. candle to the 5 a.m. candle, okay? So from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock here. And we have this false move higher, right? We don't hit any sort of higher time frame for value gap, right? If we look on the 1 hour time frame, we don't trade higher. Maybe we could have hit this POI right here, right? But we don't really do that. We just have this false move higher, okay? And there's no true manipulation, right? This move that ends up getting created here doesn't make sense, right? We don't even sweep out like Asia highs, right? We don't sweep out this intermediate high inside of this gap, right? We don't really do anything, okay? So this move, again, just doesn't make sense. So what I'm expecting is for this low, I think this might be previous day low here, or it's just an intermediate low inside of a Ferrari gap, okay? So daily intermediate low, okay? So this low inside of a Ferrari gap is going to be a great rejection point, especially for this unsponsored London highs to then have a reversal towards, right? So we can start maybe seeing this reversal happen at around 8:30, hit this higher time from key level. 9:30 actually does the work. Okay, so 9:30, beautiful. We do have a 9:30 Judas lower. So as you can see here, 9:30 opens. We ended up making a false move higher. Again, this is what you want to be paying attention to, is really just like models inside of models, right? If I see that this move higher is a false move higher and we just end up generating liquidity, I want open to have the same. And that's what we do. We end up creating that false move higher. We don't take out this intermediate high inside this gap. We actually just go lower, creating more liquidity. And then we ended up getting a really, really nice reversal out of this. And then we end up taking out some recent buy side here. And then I think lunch hour eventually ends up trading and completing this daily profile on this day. So 12 o'clock ends up getting the distribution move here after 9:30 to 11 had that expansion, and then 12 p.m. candle ended up doing the work there. So really, really nice daily profile here. Again, this was your open low, right? So you can see that 12 a.m. true day open ends up trading immediately lower. We have an open low, and then we have a high close above here. Well, this does end up, let's see, I think it still closes. Actually, yeah, it did close bullish. So yeah, end up closing bullish here on this day at close there. And yeah, just a super, super nice daily profile you guys should definitely be studying is the London Judas New York reversal. Let's move on to a couple more examples here. Now, before we get into some more examples, this is something that I do want to talk about. Now, because I am showing you guys, like the really clear examples on these days, But there are going to be days where you can have a high or a low be sponsored, and then price will do something like take out another high or low, and then that lower high will not be sponsored. Okay, so what I mean by this, and this is going to kind of tie into a little bit of a market maker models a little bit here, is we will just have liquidity being generated. Okay, so when liquidity is being generated, this can stay low resistance liquidity as long as the higher time frame key level has not been hit yet, right? So until we hit this higher time frame key level, we can have this, keep getting generated. There's times where we will maybe sweep out the highs or lows, but a lot of the times we can just generate this liquidity, and these highs and lows inside of gaps will be protected, right? And these are called your intermediate highs and lows, and these can eventually be targets once we start the buy side of the curve, right? In a bullish example here. So once we hit that level, right, and let's say London session here ends up, having the move being sponsored at first, but then we have a large expansion lower and we actually end up hitting another key level. This is all really trading is, guys. We're bouncing off of different key levels and we're forming a narrative based off that. And from here, this high, especially if we get, that lower time frame or whatever confirmation using time frame alignment outside of this fair value gap or outside of this higher time frame level, then we can look to target this. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys an example of what this looks like. Okay, because not all the time, if we, if you're just pattern trading this, right, not all the time if we hit a POI that's on the 30-minute time frame or above during London session, that the high is always going to be sponsored or the low is always going to be sponsored, right? So I'll show you guys an example of what that looks like here. Okay, so we end up having price trade at this. Let's show you what this looks like. So from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., right? London highs here, right? So this high would make sense, right? Because we have, opening price here. This is your 12 a.m. We have open, high, and then you should see a low close, right? Now, what liquidity pools are we looking at here? Well, we have a daily fair value gap, right? And we're overall higher time frame and bullish order flow, right? So that's what I want you guys to recognize also. Like, you need to be understanding the higher time frame narrative here. So especially here, we have that higher time frame bullish order flow. Okay, so this daily fair value gap here, right? This high is going to be protected, okay? Because what? We hit this higher time frame key level here, being this 1 hour bearish fair value gap. So this makes sense. It's a small gap, but it's still a gap. So it makes sense for price to then trade lower. But from here, right, 9 a.m. does this, and we get a very, very bullish reaction out of this. And we get a 15-minute change of state of delivery here. And from here, this high is no longer protected, right? When I was showing you guys that buy model, right, you can have price do this, and this highs are being protected and generating liquidity. Until we hit this key level, this is no longer protected, okay? Especially if we're in bullish order flow on the higher time frame, right? So then this ends up being a bullish daily profile, actually, that ends up trading all the way back towards this London high and ends up taking it out, okay? So that's just something I want you guys to be recognizing, is where these key levels are. If the move that sponsored this high has already happened and then we get confirmation coming out from that POI, this high is no longer protected and it can definitely get traded back to. So it's not always going to be protected. Okay, so I did want to disclose that, and hopefully that makes sense to you guys. All right, guys, now I'm going to show you a couple more examples here. So this is an example. This is the previous day from here. We had a London Judas New York reversal on this day. So as you can see here, we ended up having this false move from London session. Okay, so London session actually traded higher here, and we made no open low on this candle, right? So this is called a devil's mark. A devil's mark is very, very, is going to be a very strong draw on liquidity. And it's basically when we have, again, it's what it looks like, just a candle with no wick, okay? So we will have an open and we will just have a high, and we'll have a wick on the high, but there will be no open low. So what happens is a lot of the times we will go back and then we will create the wick on this candle, and then we can either bounce from there after creating the wick if we're going to be in bullish order flow, or we'll just continue trading lower. But this is going to be a very strong draw because price likes to create wicks on candles. And if, especially on like this 15-minute time frame, if we don't have a wick, this is going to be a very strong draw. Okay, so from here, again, this is going to be your London open, and 2 a.m. candle has no wick. So this is a false Judas, right? This move doesn't make sense. We didn't have an open low. We didn't take out any sort of liquidity, nothing like that. All right, so we have previous day high here being above us. We end up trading higher here, and then we get a London Judas New York reversal profile. Okay, so New York ends up hitting this higher time frame key level here, being this previous day high. 930 has an open right here. All right. Has an open. We trade above opening price, hitting this higher time frame key level. Then we trade below opening price, going lower, and then we end up distributing and eventually get a retracement here. And then we finally get that final distribution leg at around 11 o'clock towards that London low, towards these Asia lows, and then eventually we go towards this. Oh, that was in like a couple more days. But yeah, we eventually get a really nice expansion all the way here, and then we get a kind of reversal during PM session. But overall, very, very nice London Judas New York reversal profile here. And again, we had this being, let me show you guys again, right here, we're London session. And this could, also kind of looks like a little bit of an AMD as well, where we just accumulated. We didn't really do much. We didn't really take much liquidity. And then we had our manipulation higher and then a distribution lower, right? And London session, again, unsponsored, and New York ended up having the reversal. So these daily profiles are just showing you, if we're either going to have a reversal or a continuation on the day. And it's going to be starting to get obvious, hopefully. You guys are starting to see, the trends between these different types of profiles. And yeah, let's get into maybe one more. I'll do one more example. All right, and I'm going to show you guys one more example here of a London reversal New York continuation profile. Okay, so here we end up having London session hitting our higher time frame key level and then getting an expansion out of that and getting a reversal, meaning that New York is going to have a continuation. So here our higher time frame key level is previous day low right here. So we end up hitting previous day low. All right. Previous day low does get hit here, and this is between the 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock range, right? And then we get our, inversion here. We get confirmation that price wants to distribute higher. We get a chain of state delivery here as well. Series of down close candles that ends up sweeping out liquidity. We get a body that gets closed above that, and now we have a drawn liquidity being higher. And then we end up getting that expansion during New York AM session towards that beautiful draw on liquidity. And 830 gets a nice pop up, 930 gets that pop up, and then we end up getting that distribution. So again, shallow retracements on these days. It's probably gonna be harder to catch like a lower time from long, but that's what you can expect on these days where we have London Judas and then a London reversal New York continuation profile. So definitely, guys, also be paying attention to 8:30 a.m. and pre-market, because those times can be valid to trade, especially if we have profiles like this. You want 8:30 to have a manipulation and then 9:30 to have a distribution. So what I mean by this is we can have, for example, news on this day, and 8:30 after hitting this, 8:30 can then have a run lower. And then on a day like this, it would be okay to trade news because 9:30 will then just have the expansion. And you want to be in that trade because 9:30 will deliver you to the drawn liquidity, right? So on days like this where there's actual news dropping at 8:30, then it's okay to trade before 9:30. So that's just something that I want you guys to note. As a beginner, maybe try to only trade market open. That's going to give you, definitely like the cleanest and most high quality setups. And you're not going to be trading so often. But there's still going to be a lot of great setups pre-market. It's just not going to be as often. But it is all about just recognizing conditions and looking at news as well. The news is going to tell you a lot about, the overall narrative of the day and when is price going to manipulate, when is price going to distribute. All right, I want to show you guys one final example here of that London reversal and New York continuation. So we have a very, very clear drawn liquidity lower. I remember trading this day. This is very, very obvious sell side liquidity run here. Very clear market maker sell model, sell side of the curve. And we end up having London session trade into this 1 hour for value. So you can just mark out 2 a.m. here to 5 a.m. And we have a 1 hour bearish for value gap here. London session ends up trading towards that 1 hour gap, and we make the high of day here. We get a resweep of that intermediate high inside of this gap, and then from here we get that run lower, and we have internal liquidity pools being here. We have a lot of low resistance liquidity, right? A lot of lows that didn't sweep out other lows here. Bunch of stacked lows here. And then New York ends up having a continuation here at 9 a.m., 9:30 here. And we ended up getting a continuation and fat distribution on this day. This was a very satisfying day to trade. And yeah, overall, really, really nice setup, really clean day. And those are just some daily profiles. So start marking these out in your chart, guys. There's going to be times where, we might take out London highs and lows. We might have that, London Judas reversal. I want to find one actually where we have, I want to show that example of that London Judas, and then we have like a reversal from that London higher low. So let me find that really quick, and then I'll get into like the conclusion of this video. All right, so I'll show you guys an example here, right? We have London lows here, and this usually happens when the bias is really bullish, and there are days where you can kind of fade the daily profile, and depending on whatever your higher time frame narrative is, right? So this is very clearly a London Judas swing where we have London have just a straight up open high. We don't trade into any lower key level here. Asia session as well, we're just going up, no strong manipulation lower, no tap into any sort of higher time frame key level with their lows. So this is expected to be a reversal towards this low. Now, as you can see here, New York AM trades lower, taking this out. But then from here, we ended up getting a really nice reaction out of this and a very strong change in state of delivery from this POI. And from here, we end up trading higher and then having a distribution on this day towards the higher buy side, right? So we didn't just take this and then, chop around and then distribute lower, right? This happens when like the London low, and this is like when we have like smaller ranges. It's more like seek and destroy type conditions when London lows is like really close, or London highs is really close on Judas days like this. So just something to look at. But that being said, guys, that's going to be it for this video. These are just a couple examples of daily profiles. So again, go to your charts, start looking at the previous weeks. At all-time highs, it's going to be a lot tougher just because the daily profiles aren't the cleanest. We're just taking out London highs and lows and Asia highs and lows pre-market, and then we're having very seek and destroy type conditions. And it's not really the cleanest and truest classic sell days and buy days. You're going to see that be much cleaner during like pre-summer months and, months where we weren't in all-time highs conditions. So just go ahead and backtest that, guys, because we will almost always have a daily profile. And the times where daily profiles aren't invalid is those seek and destroy conditions I went over, right? So if we have Asia session highs, I don't know why it's doing that. We have Asia highs here. Okay, I don't know why my thing is like being weird, but I don't know what's going on. But Asia highs, why is it like, did you guys see this? Asia highs is here, and then when London session takes out the highs and lows, okay, my shit's just actually tweaking. But this is seek and destroy conditions, and these types of days, again, we'll just run the lows, we'll run the highs, and what is going on? Anyways, I think that's a sign to wrap this fucking video up. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, homework for this is to go through, back testing data and look through all of these daily profiles and really just be looking at if, we have the high being sponsored during London or the low being sponsored, and if this is a true AMD, if this is a true low of day, true high of day. But yeah, go ahead and look for these daily profiles and don't pattern trade this. Use this with proper narrative and overall, higher time frame as well. So much love, boys. Have a good rest of your day or night, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.